What's going on, guys? Hope your week is going well so far. Tuesday, happy Tuesdays to everyone. It's the winter break. It's actually a bigger winter break in the Premier League than we actually expected. When it was first announced, it was like, yeah, we're gonna have 5, 10 fixtures split over 2 weekends, 5 in 1 week, 5 in the next. You're like, yeah, I can deal with that. Then I got changed to 4 and 6, and then all we had was three games on the weekend due to the weather. Man City's game against West Ham was postponed, so it's been a real quiet week on the Premier League front. Of course, Man City's game has been rearranged for next week, Wednesday, Champions League week. And Man United don't play. They come to the end of their winter break when they play Chelsea on, I want to say Monday. So yeah, it's been a bit quiet in the Premier League, but there's also always news when it comes to Man United. These people just can't keep us off their lips, and to be honest, this time it's expected because Ed Woodward has come out and spoken. He's spoken about transfers, and that's what we're going to get into today. Yes, we just come out of the January transfer window. Some might say a bit underwhelming. I think for a January transfer window, we've done well, even if it took longer. You know, as they say, better late than never, but it really should have been earlier than it was. But it was done nonetheless, the deals for Bruno Fernandes and Igalo. And eyes have obviously turned to the second half of the season, as well as the summer, because we know that this season ain't going the way that some would have hoped. We all would have hoped, should I say, or some would have expected. And the rebuild is going to take a few more transfer windows at least. So eyes are going to be turned towards the summer and beyond. And Ed Woodward has come out with a statement talking about Man United's plans going forward. So we're going to go into that, delve into what he said in a bit. But there is something that I did hear before, actually. It was to do with how much money we've actually got available in the summer. Now, if I'm correct, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came and said something along the lines that the money we use for Bruno Fernandes is kind of part of the summer transfer budget, which for me is a bit baffling. Considering we're in for Bruno Fernandes in the summer, unless I've got my wires crossed and it's the previous summer, but I'm sure he's talking about the future summer. Unless I got, we were in for Bruno Fernandes in the summer, gone. We didn't get him then, we got him in January. Surely that signing should come out of this previous summer's transfer budget, because the money was there. We didn't sign anyone instead of him, so that money was still available. So anything we signed in January really should have been from the previous summer's transfer budget. It can't be taken out of the next transfer budget because we needed it and was going to sign him before the season started. If it is taken out of the next transfer budget, then that's going to weaken us even more because there's a number of positions we still need to strengthen. Now, of course, the main question is how much money is or was available anyway. And which players are we going for and how much they will cost. Let's talk about what Ed Woodward actually said in his address. And I say address because, I mean, he wasn't actually there, but he made a statement that was read out to Man United supporters in his absence. I don't know if it was because of safety measures, because of course his property was attacked. He's been verbally, I want to say verbally abused directly, but songs and chants have been made against him of an unsavory nature. So he's hiding the security around him, and that may be why he didn't actually show up in person. But he's spoken about the rebuild, and he said that the summer is an important opportunity for the club. Anything we do throughout the season is always planning for the next transfer window, looking at certain players, what kind of players we want, etc., etc. And spoke about how much has been spent. He said 200 million has been spent on the social, showing that he is being backed. I questioned that. I questioned that massively, because 200 million was spent, but how much was actually recruited by player sales? How much was there for the net spend? When you consider that the players that we lost, including Lukaku for 74 million, and we spent 150 million. That's not much. It's 70, 80 million. That's not much. We lost Herrera, we lost Fellaini, Sanchez, Smalling. Our investment of Man United's money into the club has not been the 200 million that we speak of, because that money just came from player sales. Some of it, a lot of it already came from player sales. How much are the Glazers actually putting in? He backed the Glazers, of course. The Glazers are keeping him in a job, so he's gonna back them. I think if I was him, I would back them as well, because he probably feels he's a bit lucky to still be in the job. So you're gonna back your owners. They're gonna give you that opportunity. Probably one or two seasons too far. Woodward said, our focus is on bringing a combination of experience and the best young players with potential to develop further, fusing graduates from our academy with high quality acquisitions. And what I would say is, under Solskjaer, I would agree with that. We've brought in Harry Maguire, captain of Leicester, England's #1 centre-back. We've brought in young talent in Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Premier League talent, Dan James, talent from the Championship, and now we brought in the Sporting Lisbon captain and experienced attacking midfielder in Bruno Fernandes, as well as Odion Ighalo on loan. We've also promoted the youngsters, Mason Greenwood, Brandon Williams. McTominay is his first full season, and there's been glimpses of other youngsters throughout the season. So I'm not going to disagree with that. We are doing that. And I've been pleased with the players that we've signed and the rebuilding of the squad, just in terms of the names, the personnel so far under Solskjaer, how long certain deals take to happen, and the process by which we sign these players is something that still irks me. But in terms of the personnel itself, I can't really complain about the players that have gone and the players that's come in. And the players we are targeted and linked with. You know, there are some exceptions, the likes of Longstaff and Rice, I don't think are good enough. And the fact that we haven't replaced Lukaku with a striker prior to Odion Ighalo, but then he's a replacement for Rashford. The inability to get the Haaland deal over the line, those things do trouble me, do irk me, and question if the people in those positions know exactly what they're doing and how they're going to go about it. But in terms of the personnel who have come in and the personnel who have left, I can't really complain about that. It says, yeah, our recruitment process focuses on analysis and selection of players over the course of a season with a view to the following summer, blah, 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 blah. We remain in contention in the Europa League, the FA Cup, as well as the Champions League qualification. There is still a lot to play for. There's a lot to play for. We need to turn this season around ASAP. When I say ASAP, I'm talking the next game. Like that Chelsea game, when you really think about it, it's actually a must-win. It's actually a must-win game. And we go to Stamford Bridge in a must-win game at a place where we don't usually win anyway, even at the peak of our powers. That's a very, very, very difficult situation we put ourselves in, because we're chasing Chelsea, we're now chasing Sheffield United, we're now chasing Wolves and Spurs. We're chasing everyone now. And we slip up once, if all of those teams don't capitalise, 2 or 3 will. And you cut yourself further adrift and need more assistance from more teams to get back into a Champions League position. So that game for me is actually a must-win. If we lose it and other results, I mean Chelsea's result obviously will impact us, and other results, we can write off top 4. Right off top 4 completely. Europa League, of course, is still an option, but we need to play much better than we are if we are to win that as a backdoor route into the Champions League next season. He goes on to say, he says, however, as a club and a board, we do recognise that we are not yet where we want to be. It is the overwhelming priority to everyone at the club to get us back to regularly challenging for Premier League and Champions League titles. Priority? I don't know. I don't think it's a priority of everyone. I don't know if it's his priority. I don't think it's the Glazers' priority. They do want to because it benefits them financially, but it's not the be-all and end-all for them financially. And there's other ways for them to benefit financially without stressing and pushing to get back into the Champions League and winning titles. Of course, they will benefit for it, but there's some risk will have to be taken. Financial risk will have to be taken on the way to get there, which I'm not sure that the Glazers are willing to do. And even for Ed Woodward, it may well be a priority for him. I just don't think he's capable. I don't think he has the quality to direct the club in the way that we need to be led to get back where we are. And Solskjaer, of course, that's his priority. Without a shadow of a doubt, even just as a Man United fan, he wants to see us back at the top. But the question is he good enough to do that? I'm going to touch on his situation later at the end of the video. Woodward says, although progress may not always be smooth, everyone across the club is focused and committed on playing their part in helping to achieve those aims. Significant work has been done and investments made to strengthen the academy, and we're pleased with the progress being made behind the scenes. Similarly, there has been extensive work on our recruitment process with considerable investment in scouting data and analytics. The recruitment department is working to a clear plan and philosophy along with Solskjaer and Ollie and his coaching staff. What's that clear plan? What is that clear plan? What's the philosophy? Maybe if we're just talking about the last 2 transfer windows, maybe. But he's been there for longer than that. And there hasn't been a clear plan since he's been there. Maybe we decided to stick to what we're doing now, and that's how we're going to go forward regardless of who the coach is. But let's say history is best qualified to reward our research. I can only look at what's happened. And judging based on that, I can hope that in the future it will be better. But I can't do assumptions. Not when I've seen what I've seen for the last 6 years. I can't do assumptions. So it's all good, paying this lip service and saying X, Y, Z. I need to see the results. I need to see the actions. And until then, I know he has a responsibility to say some stuff, but I feel like just don't say anything. Because you can say what you want. No one's going to believe you. No one's going to believe you. We need to see the results, the fruits of that labour that you speak about. Because we've heard a lot. You've spoken a lot. Everyone's spoken a lot over the last 6-7 years. And there's been very, very little to show for it. He said, we are consistently taking the view that because January is not an optimal time in terms of availability of players, we would only buy a player in January if players we had already we'd already targeted for the summer became available. And we are pleased with the strategy, that this strategy played out with signing Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes and players we brought in last summer are evidence that our process is the right one. I agree with that. There have been no shortage of investments in players over the past few years. I disagree with that. There's been a shortage with over 200 million spent. How much is that? Net spend. Since Ollie became the manager, our aim is to ensure that we continue to achieve consistency and quality of recruitment. Woodward also pointed to the wider reach and investment, adding, off the pitch, it is important to note the commercial elements of the club are geared to ensuring we have a self-sustaining model which supports investment in the playing side. Well, when you've got the Glazers who are taking money out of the club at an alarming rate, I have to question whether those financial gains off the field are being invested correctly back into the club, wholeheartedly back into the club. You have to. You look at Old Trafford, the place needs a fixer-upper. It needs a paint job. It needs there's leaks in the building work. Like, how much has really been invested back in the club and not lying in Glazer's pockets? But that's not what I really want to talk about in this video. It's about transfers. And we've heard that there's about three to five players, or there's a budget for about 3 to 5 players in the summer. I think it's a case of 3 players at a base level, i.e. if we don't lose anybody other than maybe those on a free transfer. And if we were to sell players such as Pogba, there's obviously Sanchez is going. Well, I think what it looks like, obviously Solskjaer wants to get rid of him. Marcus Rojo, Chris Smalling, I mean, hopefully Phil Jones, fingers crossed. Those players will be replaced. And I think that's the only way we'll get to 5 or so transfers. It's about replacing those players. But outside of that, if we say that everyone is as they are, so everyone that's at the club right now is what we go into next season, which 3 players do we need? Because I think that's what the budget's there for, 3 players. And I'm thinking around, 200 million mark. That's what we're really talking about. And 200 million, who are you going to get for 200 million? Well, for me, there's 2 players which will be key. 2 players will be key if we're just talking about based on what players we've got now. I mean, if Pogba's to go, we need 3 to 4 players if we're being serious. But as everything is now, 2 players the key. I think Jadon Sancho, right winger, that's massive. That's so important because we don't have that natural width on the right hand side, and it shows when we play, because the only width we really tend to keep on that side is Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and he ends up with the ball, and people criticise his attacking output, but he ends up with the ball, and he's got like his winger and his fullback to beat. I mean, he's not the worst going forward, but he damn sure ain't the best. And you ask him to do the job of a world-class winger. Either to cross from deep, pinpoint accuracy, or to beat 2 men and get to the byline. I think that's a lot to be asking for your right-back, whose main strength is clearly defending. We need someone else to occupy the width on that side, to allow him to go on the overlap, to occupy the defenders and just offer him more space. And as I said in the past, now we've got Bruno Fernandes who can operate with some quality in that number 10 position. We need to keep the width. You got Rashford on the left, who obviously is going to want to cut inside as a right-footed inside forward. If you have a left-footed winger on the right, and he wants to cut inside, it's going to get too congested. If you've got a playmaker who's playing on the right-hand side, it's going to get too congested, the likes of Andres Pereira. They're not going to keep the width on that side of the pitch. Mason Greenwood's not going to keep that width. They want to all come centrally. So you need to get some natural wingers who are going to stretch the fullback, stretch the defence, go past their man, and allow Bruno Fernandes to operate properly in at number 10. Right winger is crucial. If we're talking about Jadon Sancho, of course, there's going to be other clubs in for him. I think Chelsea's probably going to be a massive one. And us getting back into Champions League could be a very, very massive or very big selling point or pulling power in terms of us actually signing him over the likes of Chelsea. How much is it going to cost? Over 100 million easily. Definitely over 100 million. Him being English and him being as good and as putting up the numbers that he has. When you consider what Dortmund have sold some of their players for, likes of Ousmane Dembele, over 100 million. I'll be surprised if he goes for anything less than 100 million. I would say somewhere between 100 and 150. Some people say he's more talented than Mbappe. I wouldn't go that far, but he's a very, very talented winger. Very, very talented winger. And there's so much more to come for him. Manchester, of course, he's been there already with Man City, and there's been talk that he's happy to come back to Manchester. I just hope it's Man United and not Man City he's going back to. So that's 100 to 150 million. That leaves about 50 million, or that leaves between 50 and 100 million, depending on if we are signing that Jadon Sancho as a right winger. And I think we need another creative spark in the middle. Now, if Pogba stays, which I can't see happening, and you got Bruno Fernandes, I might be tempted to say, you know what? Go for a defensive midfielder and a striker. A defensive midfielder and a striker. Of course, we could do with another centre-back, but we're talking what Koulibaly gets 100 million. I can't see that money being available. So I'll go for a defensive midfielder and a striker. We know we missed out on Haaland. There are people like Timo Werner out there. There's strikers out there. Moussa Dembele, he's been touted. Obviously, there's been talk about Memphis Depay. Us having the first option on him. We know he's out for a while now, so we have to see really how he recovers from that. But there are forwards out there who we can get, even though we missed out on Haaland. Martial, between now and the end of the season, how he ends it might be a big factor in whether or not we actually go out all out and splash some cash on a number 9, a striker. He has to finish the season well, or his place through the middle is in jeopardy. And he can't say he ain't been given the opportunity. He can't say he hasn't. And it might be a case of him and Rashford again now fighting over the left wing position, which they were doing under Jose Mourinho when he had first Ibrahimovic for the middle and then Romelu Lukaku. But the big one for me, is going to be between James Maddison and Jack Grealish. I do think Pogba's going to go, which means that position becomes even more important. We can't just be saying, oh, we got Bruno Fernandes, so we don't need it. No, we had Pogba, and we still needed more, because everything was going through him. So we get Bruno Fernandes, we still need more creativity. You can't rely on just one person, because then it becomes easy to play again. Because you can just like, oh, great, let's just man mark Bruno Fernandes, because we know no one else is going to create. James Maddison and Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish, James Maddison. Now, listen, I don't wish bad on most clubs in the Premier League. There are some, of course, I don't have to name no name, but I don't wish bad on most clubs. I ain't got a problem with Aston Villa. I really don't. But if Aston Villa stay in the Premier League, and the talk of his release clause being 45 million, if that's not correct, they are going to charge an arm and a leg for Jack Grealish. And when I say arm and a leg, I'm talking 70, 80 million. The same kind of price that Crystal Palace were putting on Zaha's head. And it proved too much for anyone to bid that. That's the kind of price that Leicester are putting on James Maddison's head. And it concerns me. Like, these are very good talented players. And I know the market's inflated. But I don't want to be paying 80 to 100 million for James Maddison. I really don't. He's a good young English player. He's playing the Premier League. But when you consider we're buying Bruno Fernandes for £50 million, 60 million euros, James Maddison can't be getting bought for 80 million. He can't be. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Added to that, I think Jack Grealish is the better player. Now, it's close. It's close. Both of them are very talented. Jack Grealish is a year older, but they're both still young. I guess this is Jack Grealish's first season in the Premier League, whereas James Maddison had a couple now. So I guess he's more seasoned in that respect, because you can have a player who, they might have a very good season and they kind of fall off. We don't know if that might be the case with Jack Grealish. James Maddison has proved 2 seasons now that he can cut it at this level. But I just think Jack Grealish offers a bit more. I think he's a bit quicker. I think he's a better dribbler. Beating a man. I think he's a bit more dynamic, a bit more of a flair player who can do something extraordinary. James Maddison's a very good talent, and I think he can be effective, somewhat like Frank Lampard Very effective at what he does. Very, very effective. But Steven Gerrard was a maverick. He could drag a team through a game, in Gerrard's case, for a season. And I've seen Jack Grealish this season. I know he's in a different position to James Maddison in terms of where his team are, the quality around, because obviously James Maddison played with much better quality and he's still playing well. Jack Grealish is the big fish in that Aston Villa pond, so everything goes through him. So he's gonna create more chances because he's gonna get more touches of the ball. He's the main guy. Everyone looks up, get the ball to Grealish. At Man United, that's not going to be the case. That might make it a bit different for him. But the way he's been carrying Aston Villa this season, and I think he's their captain. That says a lot for me. That says that he has the mentality really to cut it at this level. Now, I know Aston Villa and Man United are two different kettles of fish, but Premier League football is Premier League football. And if you're responsible really for a whole club's survival in the Premier League, and you can carry that on your shoulder, that burden on your shoulder, and not let it negatively affect your performance, if anything, you go up a level. That says a lot about your character, and that's the kind of characters we need at Man United. That is the kind of character, because it's a pressure. And a lot of players buckle under that pressure at Man United. The likes of Andreas Pereira, I don't think he can cut the pressure. He can't handle that pressure at Man United. I don't think Luke Shaw can handle that pressure at Man United. Aston Villa is a big club. Aston Villa are a big club with a big fan base, massive history. And Jack Grealish is taking all of that in his first season in the Premier League and saying, yeah, I'm ready. And for what's going to be near enough half the price of James Maddison, I have to go with Grealish. I have to. If both of them were similar price, I guess a safer option, a safer bet would be James Maddison, because, as I said, he's 2 years in the Premier League experience, showing that he can do it year after year. Jack Grealish hasn't done that. But for nearly half the price, and I would say more talent, the talent has to be transformed into actually results on the other end. But for more talent at half the price, I will go Jack Grealish all day. And as I said, if they go down, I think we can get him for a reasonable price, 40 million max. If they stay up, I just hope he got a release clause that some people have spoken about. Because if they stay up, they're going to probably want like 70 million. I mean, we don't have to pay that. We hope that you can negotiate. I just don't hope it don't take a bloody month or 2 months to get over the line, and they start bringing up, the Euros, the Euros. Well, listen, Ed Woodward said they work on it throughout the season, who they want in the summer. So if there being a European Championship shouldn't hinder us too much. And then everyone's in that same position. So it's no excuse. But if I had the option right now, who would I go for? I think it's slightly more risky. But I like the look of Jack Grealish. And I can see him. Even though James Maddison is a Man United fan, I don't know that to be the case of Jack Grealish. I see him as a Man United player. I see him being able to handle that expectation that comes with being a Man United player. That jury would be out for me on James Maddison, because playing for Leicester is not even the same pressure as playing for Aston Villa. That's the truth. And with the quality around him, the weight on his shoulders at Leicester are nowhere near what Grealish is having to carry over at Villa. So if I had to choose between two, I'll go Jack Grealish. But of course, it's all opinions really. It may not even come to that. Maybe neither of them come. Maybe neither of them want to come. Who knows? Maybe those players are not even our targets, and all the newspapers are just lying. Wouldn't be the first time. But guys, let me know in the comments below what you think. Who would you go for if you were Solskjaer and Ed Woodward, and you had to choose between Jack Grealish and James Maddison? Who would you go for? Who do you think is the better talent, and who will go on to be the better player? Before we go, I just want to touch on, as I said, the Solskjaer managerial situation, because some reports came out today, interview done with Mauricio Pochettino, talking about his plans for the future. And I guess he stoked somewhat of a fire. He says that he wants to return to the Premier League. He would love to return to Premier League management. So to be honest, I would love to work in the Premier League, he said. It's going to be difficult, I know, and for now it's a moment to wait and see, and we'll see what happens. It's a moment of recovery, to think about yourself a little bit, to be ready, because in football, always something can happen and you need to be ready. I'm ready and waiting for a new challenge. I have the belief and confidence that the next challenge will be fantastic. What does he say? He noticed the rumours, all the coaching staff accept that there are rumours, and we deal with rumours naturally. So he's ready. We did a video, I think it was mid-January maybe, about Pochettino potentially coming to Manchester United, whether there were talks between Woodward and Pochettino's representatives about a move in the summer. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I've said for a while that I will give Solskjaer to the end of the year, not in terms of waiting for something to happen, but all this upheaval, chop change middle of the season is not good. It's really not good. It doesn't help, especially when you're trying to sign players to new contracts and even attract players. Sacking managers mid-season, I don't think that's gonna make it any more attractive. But I think having a manager like Mauricio Pochettino, we've seen what he's done, how he's improved players in the Premier League at Spurs. If we're talking about attracting players, well, he's going to definitely attract players more so than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So you add that with the Man United brand and history and legacy, that can be a very, very important tool to use in the summer transfer market. Let alone his quality as a coach, which has been proven to be better than Solskjaer's. But as I said, I don't expect Solskjaer to be sacked. So it's always going to be a bit of a waiting game. And he says he's willing to wait. He's just being ready, just sitting tight. And there's been talk about, well, possibly if Pep leaves, and that opportunity at Man City could come available for Pochettino. I can't see Pep leaving. Pep would have to win the Champions League for him to go. That's the only way he could leave with any dignity. Because if he runs away now, that's weak. So weak. He ran away from Mourinho in Spain. He can't afford to run away from Klopp over here in the Premier League. But I do think Pochettino Man United is a good fit with the young players, the young squad that we've got, and his, as I said, proven ability to develop that kind of talent. I see that as a correct move. Now, what I would say is, which I keep saying, is that the problem is above the manager, because is it Woodward who is leading this new direction that we're going on in terms of the types of players we're trying to sign, or is it Solskjaer? If it's Woodward, and he's now all of a sudden become a good technical director, sporting director, director of football, whatever you want to call it, then it doesn't matter who the coach is in that respect. You get a better coaching and results will move in the right direction, because everything's already going there in terms of the players that you're playing, the style of football that you want. You only get a coaching who's going to match that style of football, that philosophy, etc. But if it's Solskjaer driving that, then losing him, does that mean we go back to square one, where we're then changing the philosophy again? We're changing the transfer strategy. Is that what it means? Now that's my concern, which is why I say it's so important for us to get a director of football, so that whoever the coach is, the philosophy of the club does not change. And that's what I will question. Who is it that's driving this new direction that we're going on? Is it Woodward or is it Solskjaer? If it's Solskjaer, then losing him could set us back even more. Guys, let me know your thoughts on everything I've spoken about in the video. Hit the like and subscribe button. And I'll see you soon.